G'day everyone, welcome back to Porsche Talk podcast. We skipped a week last week, but that's okay because we're going to catch up this week. Welcome, Ajmal. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, I've just realised we don't do music anymore.
No, I started it, I stopped it. I felt like I was running out of options, but we could bring it back if you want.
We probably should. You probably should. For the next one, I'll send you a song.
Any listeners out there got any suggestions? Please feel free to send through. Let's hear from the listeners on what they want to hear.
I don't know. It could be a bit weird. It's probably going to be, our demographic. It's going to be like heavy metal.
I think you might be surprised, Ajmal, that our demographic, when they throw these songs up, you may know all the words.
Oh, well, I used to work with a guy who was into thrash metal.
Okay, yeah.
And we used to work night shifts, and he used to play this stuff, and I remember it just used to hurt my ears. And it was, it was like a lot of screaming.
Sure.
And one day, I thought I'd try and find out a bit more. And I said, "What's this band called?" And he said it was called Prostitute Disfigurement. Right. And to me, that was like, I don't want to know anymore.
You definitely don't want to be Googling that.
No, you never Googled it. I stopped that. In fact, that was probably about 25 years ago. And this is the first time I've thought of that conversation since then.
Well, I'll tell you something.
So, yeah.
I've got something even more alarming than that. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, Ajmal. Who do you think the most influential musician in the world right now is to 10-year-old girls?
Is it Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran?
It is Taylor Swift. Now, why this is alarming is I was in Melbourne last week, away from home, and in the store that I was doing some work at, they had Taylor Swift playing, and I am by far the oldest person in the team there. And they said, one of the employees said, "Marc, I'm surprised you know all the words to these songs." So I actually caught myself singing it whilst, just because I've been brainwashed by the amount of Taylor Swift that's been getting played in the car and around the house over the last several months.
No, we don't get it. That we're an Ed Sheeran house at the moment.
So we've done Ed Sheeran. We've done it. We're Tay-Tay's now on the table.
Yeah, we're kind of bordering into Tay-Tay at the moment, but not quite in. So it's all Ed Sheeran. I walk into a shop and it's playing in the background, and you're like, and you get in the car and you're by yourself and you turn the radio on. Oh, let's do a bit of radio instead of Ed Sheeran. You turn it on and it's Ed Sheeran. So it's Ed Sheeran overload at the moment.
Got it.
But anyway, I what our listeners, all three of them. I'm not saying that they listen to thrash metal by bands called Prostitute Disfigurement.
Yes, good call. I'd like to throw some locations out here, and I'd like you to tell me what they might have in common, Ajmal.
Okay.
Bahrain, Italy, New Zealand, Norway, and Singapore.
Well, I would have said Formula One apart from New Zealand.
New Zealand. What about Norway? Has there ever been an F1 race in Norway?
Not that I know of, no.
Interesting.
There probably has been, but not in recent memory.
Yeah, okay. Well, they are the countries where our listeners have taken us to peak at the number one automotive podcast in those countries in the last month.
What? That's amazing.
Big shout out to our supporters in Bahrain, Italy, New Zealand, Norway, and Singapore.
Who knew that it would only take 3 listeners to get to number one in those
3
categories in those countries?
Damn that Spike's Car Radio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, take that.
But I tell you where we're also very close. I'm going to run some countries off here that it will tickle your fancy, no doubt. We're top 5 in Algeria, Northern Africa.
Nice.
Never been there. Austria, Denmark, Finland, India, Ireland.
India?
Yeah. India, Ireland. India?
What, with billions of people? That can't be right.
Let me keep rolling. South Africa, Sweden, and Switzerland. Now, with India, out of all of these countries that I've rolled out, New Zealand is the only one that has English as their primary language.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, do you know what? We need to get to number one in India then.
I think if we get number one in India, we're retiring.
It's going to happen. If we're top five, let's do it.
Look, we are really like we're number 6 in Dubai as well. So I just thought, the Arab Emirates.
Oh.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because this coming weekend is the Icons of Porsche event where I've decided not to attend, even though I was fortunate enough to be given the invitation with media accreditation due to our support in the Middle East for the podcast.
Ah. And it's this weekend. Hang on, it's this weekend.
It is. So the Icons of Porsche event in Dubai is run by Porsche Middle East, and it is a Rennsport style with a bit more road focus event, which they're expecting to have a very large number of attendees. I'm curious to know how it will all be going this weekend there with the floods they've had in Dubai in the last week, which is very different to what it's like in Perth right now. Well, I'm going to just quickly jump to the Porsche Weather Channel. It is well after 9 p.m. in the evening. It is still 32 degrees outside, Ajmal.
Wow.
Yes, it is pretty warm.
Well, shockingly, I mean, you'll be stunned to hear that it's raining in England.
No.
Yeah. But it's like Peter Kay, the comedian, said, it's that fine rain that soaks you through. We call it spitting.
Yeah, okay.
It's called spitting.
But the event in Dubai, look, sad not to join it. And I'd just like to shout out to Porsche Cars Middle East for the invitation. Appreciate it. And hopefully be able to take up that invitation next year. But a bit too much travel this last quarter of the year I've had, and got a bit of catching up to do at home, I'll be honest with you, Ajmal.
Oh, I can understand that, because speaking of traveling, it's Tuesday today. I am going to Vegas on Friday.
I feel like it's a week late.
It is definitely a week late, and I am. I've seen a meme going around on Instagram about the Formula One Grand Prix in Vegas that's just been, and it's. Do you know who Cilla Black is?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, for anyone who doesn't, she was a singer, a TV presenter, friend of the Beatles over here. Died recently, but she was a big deal on British television. And she was on a television show called Surprise, Surprise, where they would surprise people with long lost relatives and God knows what. Okay. Sure. And at the end of the show, she sang a song called Surprise, Surprise. It was like super cheesy 80s, 90s type television.
Yeah.
And but you know the incident with the manhole cover at the Grand Prix?
Yes.
And so the meme going around is that the manhole cover comes off and she comes out of the manhole cover singing "Surprise, Surprise." And all of the people that I know on Instagram who are in the US who've been putting this up, and I'm like, how do you know? I messaged Lara, that Porsche girl, and I said, how do you know who Cilla Black is? And she went, I don't know who that is. It's just a meme. So I thought, all right, okay. That kind of makes sense now. Because I was thinking, why does everybody all over the world know who Cilla Black is? Because I thought she was just a British thing, but more famous than I thought.
Yeah, it was. It was. Nonetheless, look, we're not a Formula One podcast, so we might brush over the event later on in the show. Tell me, what have you got planned for your trip in Vegas? Anything exciting outside of work?
Well,
you're there for a week or something.
I'm there for a week. So I get there on Friday evening. So I set off Friday late afternoon.
Yep.
And it's an 11-hour flight, longest I've ever flown.
Okay.
You know, I don't like flying. and obviously being in Australia, you probably fly down to the shops and it takes longer. Mm-hmm. But it's so, and it's what, 8-hour, 7-hour difference. So I get there in the evening. So time-wise, it's like 3 hours later, but it's 11 hours later.
Sure.
and then probably just go out for a few drinks. One of my colleagues gets there an hour before me, and then at the weekend we're going obviously out and about. We'll probably go. There's a he's booked some restaurants and
Nice one.
cocktail bars and stuff like that because it's his birthday that weekend.
Yes.
So we'll be taking it easy. But the things that I've been looking at are things like, taking a drive out, hiring a car, or going to the Sphere.
Sure.
Now, the Sphere is like £250 each for,
Yes.
but at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, but how often do you get to go to Vegas, right? So should I
Sure.
not just do that? So I haven't technically planned a lot of things because during the week, it will just be full on work.
Sure.
And it's more of it's a convention, it's networking, it's going to be just constant up until, really late into the early hours, probably pretty much every night. So it'll be the weekend that I'll have to go and, exploring. So I haven't, I'd like some suggestions from listeners of the things to do in Vegas. Not like the movie. What's it called?
Hangover.
Andy Garcia thing.
Oh,
No, that's
Ocean's 11.
Denver. No, it's things to do in Denver when you're dead, isn't it?
Oh, not sure.
I want to look it up now.
Tell me, the Sphere. I didn't go. Wish I had a.
It looks spectacular.
Oh, look, they spent like $2 billion building the thing. That's reason enough to go, isn't it?
No, that's mad. I mean, have you two got a residency there at the moment?
Yeah, unless it's been extended to like March next year or something.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, remember the world loved U2 until they gave everyone a free record and then everyone hated them?
It was the iPod, wasn't it?
Yeah, the iPhone, yeah. I got a brand new iPhone 2 weeks ago, and sure enough, there's that U2 album on it still. Right. So
I remember I bought an iPod for my girlfriend, who's now my wife, years ago when it would have had that album. It was red, wasn't it? Was it red?
Oh, I can't remember.
I
don't know.
It was like a special edition.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, the iPod itself was red.
Yeah, and it had their etched their signature or something on the back.
Like that. Yeah.
And I didn't know that this was going on.
Yeah.
But I thought, she wants an iPod. I'll just go and get one.
I'll go get the cool one.
I got it, and I was half. Yeah, I just grabbed it, paid for it, and I was halfway out the door. And when you look at it and go, and I remember in my head going, "What the fuck is this?" And I took it back and exchanged it for a normal one.
I don't even know if they still make iPods, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah, okay.
Discontinued. So ours is one of the super old ones, where it had the wheel and then the small screen at the top. So not the mini.
So the one that actually had a mechanical hard drive, not a
yes, you could hear it spin.
Not a solid state hard drive in it. Yeah, okay.
And it's chrome on the back.
Yeah.
So we still have one of those. It's that very one. So it's just under 20 years old, but it's got the Christmas playlist on it. So it comes out the dock. Yep, and that dock, which it gets used for 1 week in the year, is still plugged into my stereo, my 1980s Pioneer stereo, and it goes on there. And one day that drive is going to fail, and it's going to need a tap on the back to get it going.
No doubt. So, what any car news from your end of town? Tell us what's been going on. Is the 996 back on the road now?
There's quite a lot of car news.
Let's talk about it.
So the last time we spoke, the 996 was up on a car lift with bits chopped out of it.
Yep.
So it's now back together, welded up. It's been through the MOT, so all of that's fine, kind of. I've had a couple of advisories, but so it's all fixed. I didn't end up changing the rear shock absorbers because I didn't have any money, but they need doing. And also, I told you that there probably isn't going to need paint because my guy Jez was going to cut round.
I remember.
Where the plastic spat went. That didn't work out.
Yeah,
and so he said, "Look, I'm not a spray shop, but I'll just do it so it doesn't look horrific.
I'll rattle can it. Yeah, got it.
Well, no, not rattle can. He kind of he does have a compressor and stuff, but it's not his job. He doesn't do. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he did it, and it's a slightly different color.
Is it red?
No, it's
Okay,
just a different shade of silver.
Yeah. Okay.
But it kind of looks okay, but it's going to need painting. So I'm going to have to
If
get
you
that
squint
done.
and stand a long way away, got it.
Yeah. So plus it's winter, right? So it's gonna all of that's just gonna get caked in leaves and rotting leaves and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it works. And the front suspension lower arms have been changed as well.
Ooh.
So it's driving a lot better. And for the last week, I thought, you know what, it isn't driving better. What's wrong with it? And one of the tires is slowly deflating. And last night I was out and I thought I'll just go stop at the petrol station and inflate that. And it was on 7 psi.
I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. You just don't deserve this car. You don't appreciate it, right?
You're not the first person to say that. But so I refilled the tire, and it turns out it drives a lot better. So that's kind of advice of the day: check your tire pressures. And the big thing, what did it cost?
Come on, throw the number out.
So originally, I was quoted kind of 2.5 grand maybe,
and I said 3 after the last podcast. I remember.
You said 3. Yep, and then and remember it was the 4 jacking points,
sure,
a little bit of sill section, and a little bit of floor.
Yep.
On all 4 sides and the 2 lower arms, and it ended up being £1,800.
Bargain.
So he gave me.
Did they include the rail can?
No, he didn't. So that what happened was
another £6 there.
No, he just said that I thought it would be he said I thought it would be a better match, so I won't charge you for that. And that would have been another 300 quid because it took him obviously a few hours to prep it, paint it. He's done it. Actually, the quality of the job is pretty good. It's it's got it's polished up, it's blended, it's kind of blown in smooth, but obviously it's a different color.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a good outcome. Yeah, look, that was a lot less money than you anticipated, which surprised me because I felt like you were prepared to cop the bushy end of the pineapple, so to speak.
I was, and I was gonna have to get a loan off my wife again. But as it turned out, I could just go into debt on my credit card.
Yeah, well done. I'd suggest you start looking for more hours whilst you're networking in Las Vegas.
I know. I need just a rich sponsor of some kind.
Sugar daddy.
I don't know who that would be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be. I'll see if anybody knows of anybody I should hook up with, not hook up with, meet up with, hook up with.
Man, what type of podcast is this, Ajmal? You're killing us here.
I was reading about I did a bit of Googling of things to do in Vegas. And one of the articles that came up was about super gonorrhea.
Super gonorrhea? Is that what you just said?
Super gonorrhea. Okay. Apparently it's a thing.
Okay.
Now I know it was a thing over in the UK. Probably a couple of years ago, they were talking about it up in the north. The super gonorrhea is going around. It's not like a superhero.
Is this part of the Marvel franchise? I've actually never heard of this before. Oh no, this is lowbrow. This is DC. Yeah, okay.
Super gonorrhea, the return. This time it's itchy. No, so I thought, hang on, why am I? Then I ended up reading the whole article. Why am I reading about super gonorrhea?
Yeah. So it sounds like you had a different trip planned to Vegas to what I had. Okay.
No, this all started because I was going to meet someone who can sponsor my shenanigans with Porsches, not hook up with.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, What about the 912? Has that done anything? Budged, moved, been started since the last podcast?
No. So the garage hasn't progressed because, it's the buildings are, as you know, buildings up,
Roof's
the
on?
roof's on. So because it's a 2.5 bay, so the half bay is getting the door fitted this week,
Ah, yes, okay.
which is kind of pointless because obviously it's open inside.
Yes.
And I've had a few quotes for getting power up there, and
How's this not all
so
done?
expensive.
How's this not all done at the same time when the pad was laid and stuff? Ajmal? I'm baffled by some of this process that you've undertaken here. Like, I feel like was this a high school project?
No, because it was slightly piecemeal. So I got a builder to do the groundworks. Now, obviously, he's put in channels where I can just feed the cable in and it comes up inside.
I would
through the
suspect
concrete.
that how easily you've said this is not going to be as straightforward as the reality of feeding the cables through.
No, because the problem is it's coming from a house, and the house being 300 years old and being sort of 25 meters from the garage. And yep, and the consumer unit is at the front of the house, and obviously the garage is 25 meters past the house.
Sure.
So it's about feeding it through the house, not chopping into any 300-year-old pieces of wood that are holding it up, and then feeding it all the way up. And then I don't really want to say this, but I'm going to say it, is I have to future-proof it in case we get an electric car or something. You need to put a supercharger up there, so might as well do it in one hit.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It's been great, this podcast, while we've been doing this, talking about...
This is only, just in case we have to sell the house and the next person wants an electric car, then...
You're going to have to run three-phase to it, though, Ajmal. You're going to need some serious... I suspect that you may have underestimated the caliber of requirement for your power to the garage.
Yes. So now, as it turns out, I'm probably just going to run an extension lead up there.
Okay. Yep. That's more in keeping with the expectation of myself and no doubt the listeners.
Yeah. It's going to look like, and then it's going to double up as a washing line.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Until you actually drive something in past it through the backyard that's taller, and you just rip it out of the house and the garage, and they both fall down. Yeah, got it.
That's inevitable.
And
it's going to happen.
What are you doing about the floor? Have you done the floor yet?
No, because I can't remember where we left when we spoke about it last, but
it's urethane,
polished concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to have to be urethane and not epoxy, because the epoxy needs the floor to be roughed up, otherwise it peels off.
Mm-hmm.
Then because it's polished concrete, I'm not gonna rough it up. I'm not gonna sand it.
Yep.
So I'm going to etch it or whatever they call it. So I'm going to just polyurethane it and then just put a rug across the middle to absorb the inevitable oil leaks. And that's it. So the doors, we're kind of talking to a company and they're going to come and measure up. So it's, and then need the final layer of gravel or whatever it might be on the surface on the driveway, because at the moment it's lime, which is the base. So it needs a film on top of that.
Yeah, it's terrible for your tyres, lime is.
Yeah, not only that, but there's parts of it, because the building stuff happened while the lime was down. There's sand on there as well, and I don't want sand on my newly welded 996.
Yeah. Well, here in Perth, the weekend just gone, the Porsche Club of Western Australia had their Members Club Day, which in the past has sort of been the concourse event. But they've renamed it due to the lack of interest in people wanting to prepare cars for concourse here. So it's now basically members' cars are brought to the event, lined up in categories. I think the categories off memory were 48 to 73, 74 to 97, so the two air-cooled categories.
Oh, right.
Then 98 to current for water-cooled. Then there's SUVs and EVs. So, and in each category, it was open to the public and all members just to vote for what they thought was the best car in each category. And then there was an overall as well. So, look, it was a pretty hot day, and I'm half conscious on this thing, but I still got sunburnt, and it's quite exposed, but it's quite convenient for me. It's literally 2 blocks over is where the event's hosted. So,
nice.
The car doesn't even get up to temperature; it just rolls down the hill into the park, and it's nice and close. The winner overall of the day was a new to Perth 356 T5, same model car as mine, except with a sunroof, whereas mine doesn't have a sunroof. And it was in a royal blue. It was a non-Porsche colour, but the car had been repainted at some point in the relatively recent past because it was the paint was in extremely good condition. Overall, the car, it was a left-hand drive car. It was very pretty, had a cork or beige interior, depending on what part of the world you came from as to what it was called, but it was the same colour nonetheless. And yeah, it's a Nello, the guy who owns it. He owns a lot of classic cars, and this is another one. And he was quite pleased with the overall favourite car of the event.
Oh, nice. Well, do you know, for some reason, talking of these, classic Porsches and iconic cars, I don't know why, but it reminds me of yesterday when I was out for a walk. I saw a Renault 19 Chamade.
I don't know what that is.
I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I haven't seen one in so long, but it's basically a Renault 19. Now, did you have Renault 19s over in?
If we did, I can't picture it. I'm going to look at it while you keep crapping on about it.
So people called it a Chamade over here, but I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. So for any French listeners,
Chamade. It looks like it should be a Chamadé or something like that.
Yeah, but it's ugly.
It is. We did have these. I reckon all 6 of them that ever came to Australia are probably no longer on the road.
They were Renault 19 was quite popular, and you never see one on the road. But even when they were a thing, I never saw one on the road. You know, you saw one every now and again, and to see one, and I thought, why the hell does that still exist? I mean, surely that
the Chamade 16 valve punched out a whopping 137 horsepower.
Which is not bad, because the Renault 19 16 valve was kind of okay.
It's there was a turbo as well, a Renault 19 turbo.
I'm not sure if I ever saw one of those. I liked what was the Renault, because there were a few Renault turbos in the 80s, weren't there?
Yeah, of course.
Obviously the GT turbo, Renault 5, but what was the other one called? Was it Fuego?
Renault yes. Renault Fuego. Oh man, where you pull this stuff from? What else have you got between those ears of yours?
I always like the look of those, but that was I think that was made in like partnership with somebody, wasn't it?
Isuzu.
That was it, yes.
How's that for pulling rubbish out of between your ears? In fact, I even know that is a tragedy.
The
iconic 80s car, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it is so 80s.
It is, and I remember, there were some neighbours, some lads who used to live not too far away, and they were big, Renault people. And one of them had a Renault 18 turbo.
Yeah.
And what was the other one that had the 3? It had the 3 studs in the wheel. Was it a Renault 11?
I have no idea. We got hardly any of these types of cars come to Australia, Ajmal.
Was it because it was back in the day?
Yeah, and I think, that's when we're talking 80s is peak Australian vehicle manufacturing. So, and really early days of Japanese-made cars that were rebadged under local branding and things like that,
Because hang on, what was it? Oh no, it wasn't that. There were quite a few cars where, companies sort of collaborated, but none of them were actually any good, were they? I mean, I don't understand because what was the one that was it Alfa Romeo that did with Nissan?
Look, if
Was it?
so, I don't know what car that is. If that is the case,
Well, I think what they did was they did everything back to front. So the Italians did the electrics and mechanicals, and Nissan did
engine.
the shape of it, and it ended up being the Nissan Cherry.
So yeah, had it been the other way around, it could have been one of the great
Something.
cars of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
It could
But
have
as
been
it
a
turned
Nissan
out,
GDR. It could have been a Nissan GDR drivetrain in something beautifully designed by Pininfarina.
exactly.
Talking about classics. Talking about
Sorry, go on.
talking about classics. I was thinking about classics following the event on Sunday, and was reminiscing about some of the great cars I've had the opportunity to get behind the wheel of through previous work I've done and through the video channel over the years, and also, through meeting people I have through this podcast. And I decided to make a list of the cars that I haven't yet but do want to drive, and I'm actually going to put them up with the aim to try and get a drive of each of these cars.
Oh,
What do you think about that?
I think that's impressive. By the way, it was a Renault 12 I was thinking of.
Okay, cool. That's not on my list.
That's not on your list.
No.
Do you know what? If you were able to get hold of one, I think that's a good idea because there's God, the cars are becoming so expensive now, and there's none of that. I was thinking, like back in the day, great cars had come out, and then they'd have this massive dip in value.
Yeah.
Everyone would get hold of them, ruin them, like people have done to 996s.
Yeah.
And then they come back up, and there's so few of them left. But obviously, the 996 example is they made so many, they're never going to run out.
Yeah.
But with even obviously Renault 5 GT Turbo, stuff like that, that was everyday kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Lancia Deltas, they rusted away. That was a different thing. But whereas now it's, if I think of the equivalent now, it's probably, the GR stuff from like you had the Yaris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But people haven't gone, oh yeah, this is a cool thing and it's going to have a dip in price. But those Yarises are not going to have that dip in price.
That will have
because
not
everybody
dipped.
Yeah, people instantly knew what they were and what they're going to be. So everyone's gone, oh, I want that. I'm not going to put any mileage on it. It's not going to go to rack and ruin.
I think the new one's about to get dropped, right? The new GR Yaris is about to drop, and it's going to the rally one. I think is going to be available only with a dual clutch, not as a manual. Is the speculation is what I've read, and if that is the case, I think this could be the new model might drop the value of the previous one.
You reckon? Because the previous one, manual.
Yeah,
everyone talks about manual. Automatic now is faster. It's used in racing, whatever it might be. But we all know that in years to come, people will go, "Oh yeah, but you can't find a manual, and they're the most desirable one." So I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Look, I might be wrong. Do you want me to talk through the cars on the list?
Give me the list. Yes.
I've got one.
Hang on, are they in any kind of order?
5, 6. No, not necessarily. Not in order of preference. If any of these cars ever the opportunity comes up to get behind the wheel, they're getting crossed off the list, and I'll find another car to put on the list. So I've got 6 cars here, right? Of which 1, 2, 3, 4 are Porsches.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Maybe with the non-Porsches first.
Okay, the first one that'll probably blow your mind. Ready?
Is it Aston Martin Rapide?
No, mate, you're like a mind reader. No, the 1920s Bentley Blower. Like the Le Mans winning thing from the 20s?
What?
There's one in Perth, and it has won Le Mans. Okay, so...
No.
Yeah, and the existing owner passed away, sadly, a couple of years ago now, but the car has stayed in Perth with the family. So I feel like there's some attainability to this one, and I've always been fascinated by it because they're so big and the wheels are massive, and they're outside the body, and the shifter's outside the body. It's got a big blower on the front that's driven off the crank that's outside the car. It's just something about it.
Wait, you're saying the car that's attainable is the one of one, irreplaceable,
Le Mans.
iconic.
No, it's not one of one. Okay, look, it's one of one because it won Le Mans, right? I get that, right?
And it's one Le Mans.
Yeah, it's probably
the only one.
It's probably worth $1, right? So,
and it's probably the only one in Australia.
But the only Le Mans winner, but it's not the only Bentley blower in Australia. I think there's a few of those, right? Anyway, there's my first non-Porsche car, right?
Okay.
Again, I think I'm not saying it's going to happen next week, but I do feel that with enough persistence and meeting the right people and greasing the right palms, I think it's something that could potentially happen. I'm not driven in anger, just driven down the road. That's all I'm interested in. I just want to see a steering wheel that's bigger than a wheel diameter of your car is always a recipe for enjoyment.
Yeah.
Okay?
True.
So there's on. The other non-Porsche.
Yes.
Bugatti EB110.
So this list reminds me of doing a tape.
Yeah.
Now you know the rules of doing a tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen the movie or read the book High Fidelity?
Yes.
So where he's doing the rules of doing a tape, you go in high.
Yeah.
You go in really high. No, the second song, you turn it up higher.
Which I've just done.
And that's what you've done.
I know the rules, Ajmal.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what made you go to that?
When that car came out, I'm taking a punt here. I'm going to say 95-ish. Maybe earlier, maybe 90, around that. Anyway. Oh, no, it'd be later than that. It'd be after 1990 because it was post F40. You know what I mean? It was like it was the car. You know what I mean? It was a game changer. 4 turbos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and styling, the whole thing about that car in that blue color, it was just, and the EB110 Super Sport, the one that had the holes in the back, intake type things, that whole thing, I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. And I actually saw one in the flesh.
Look at a picture of it.
All right.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, there was one that came to Perth when it was like the production prototype for people to place orders if they want to buy one. So I have seen one in real life. It's not in. I don't know if there's any in Australia, but they've.
Is it massive? Because I know it's 90s, but
tiny.
To me it looks
it's
80s.
Tiny.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little car. Like it is Countach little.
Oh wow.
So that's the other non-Porsche on the list. And that one, I just don't know. I think if I'm somewhere overseas or an opportunity may or may not present itself, but I've been fascinated because the dash is a shocker. It looks like it was built by, someone in Italy.
Yeah.
Which it was, right? So you're Googling the dash now, aren't you?
I am.
And it had a timber dash too, right? So it was.
I know, that's the thing. I remember the timber. Oh my God, it is. I've forgotten.
But styling wise, I love them, right? So for me, it's just one of those cars. It was like, I don't know if it ever was, but it was always talked about as being, it's going to be the fastest car in the world. I don't know if it was. I don't at any moment in time, but it was one of those world's greatest supercars for 1 minute,
Isn't that one of those where it was this amazing project that slowly got sort of chipped away, all the really cool stuff, like the XJ220, the Jaguar XJ220?
No, see, it wasn't compromised, and that's why the company failed. Had they done that, it would probably be still the same Bugatti ownership, right? But the guy was ruthless and wouldn't compromise on anything. So they end up losing money on every car,
It looks like an 80s Jag on the inside.
Doesn't look that modern. Anyway, that's 80s Jag. I saw an XJ220 in Melbourne last week.
What?
In real life, first time ever.
Silver.
Yeah. Did they come in any other color?
I think I've seen a black one somewhere.
Okay.
But it's huge, isn't it? Because it was made to accommodate a V12, but it's got a V6.
I'll tell you this. When I saw it, firstly, I never gave this car the credit it deserves. I always thought it's just another shit Jag, because there's a lot of shit Jags, right? But there are, but that company, they have made some absolute stunning examples of design and perfection, right? You know, I'm talking beautiful, beautiful motor cars.
Yep.
And I never really considered the Jag XJ220 in that realm. I thought it was just another shit design, compromised Jag. Yep. But in the flesh, I'll eat my hat. That car is stunning. Is it worth $1 million in Australia? Probably. It looks like it should be. It is incredible looking thing. The inside of it looks as bad as that EB110 dash you're just looking at.
Yep.
Right.
Proper 80s dashboard.
But as a product finished, the wheels, the intakes, the aero, the whole thing, it is a stunner. It is a great looking motor car.
Well, it arrived during the sort of financial crash of the 80s, didn't it? And which is why it's so compromised. And the price, when it first launched, obviously everybody cancelled their orders because it was,
because it didn't have the V12.
But also the world economy was booming when it was unveiled to the world as a concept. And then because everything crashed, everyone cancelled their orders and the price went through the floor. And that's the kind of car that you'll probably find this someone's got a trashed one somewhere buried in a barn somewhere. But but for me it was because my dad used to work at Jaguar Cars.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
In the 80s. Yeah, and it was on display in the factory, and next to an E-Type. And obviously, to me, the E-Type is still, Series 1. Oh my God, it's still the car that you look at and go, that is amazing.
Well, until the 220, I would have said the one of about 3 good-looking Jags was the E-Type, Series 1.
Yep.
But man, this car was unreal in real life. I couldn't believe it. I'll go back to what other cars I saw at that showroom shortly. I'll continue on to my list.
Hang on, has the XJ220 made your list or?
No.
Oh, right.
Well, actually, before we go on from that, what I don't understand is I would have understood if they ran with a 6-cylinder motor, if it was a production 6-cylinder motor at that time. But it's got a V6 in it, not a straight 6, which every other Jag had a straight 6 in it. So they had to design and engineer this motor anyway. So I don't get why they thought they were saving money by making it a 6-cylinder, not a 12-cylinder.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, maybe they were already down the track of designing a V6, or they borrowed it from somewhere.
Could be a Mondeo.
Read up about that.
Yeah. Okay. The other cars. 2.7 RS. Correct. Seen plenty of them.
It's a case of never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes.
Look, everyone who we rate as a person who knows what these cars are thinks it's peak Porsche, don't they?
That is true.
So there's got to be something there, and I want to see what that is.
Yep.
Now it may not meet my expectation, but it's on the list. This is a car I actually think I'm in with half a chance on this car too, because I know of 2 of them in Australia who I actually have got either know the owner directly or someone who knows the owner directly who I know well enough.
Okay, so there's a chance.
Yeah, and I do know very well an owner of one in Auckland, and I get over there semi-regularly anyway to New Zealand. So I don't know, I feel like this is one that I may get to tick off the list. The next one, less likely. 993 GT2.
Are there any in Australia?
There's one in my neighbourhood.
See, that is likely. Just go knock on the door.
I can't find where it lives. I've seen the car getting driven around. It's super highly strung. It's got the bolt-on guards and all that sort of stuff. It's got the G, and it's a genuine because there's, I think, 4 of them came to Australia. And
it's in your neighborhood.
Yeah, the guy that rebuilt the motor in my 356, he's actually serviced the car.
So ask him, where does this dude live?
He's not given up that info. I have asked.
Or send a note via him.
Yeah, look, it's a pretty. The person isn't a member of any car clubs. He's not in the Porsche community anywhere. And I've seen his wife driving it and install it.
I think that's probably because it's some international arms dealer or something, keeping a low profile.
I reckon it's, again, one of those cars that came out that they couldn't sell at the time because it was so expensive.
What year are we talking? That's mid-90s, isn't it?
96,
early 90s.
I reckon 96, something like that. 97.
Yeah, so it would have been
right at the end
production of the 993. Yeah,
right at the end. Anyway, that's on the list. The Not a Chance Ever or Very Slim car, GT1 Strassen version.
Oh, you are going up there. See, you've gone to the peak, back down. This is classic. You've used the classic doing a tape rule.
Well, the chance of getting behind the wheel of one of these 25 cars is low, right? I don't know anyone or even have heard of anyone. There's none in Australia. There's none in any collections. I don't know. We need to go to Stuttgart to the museum to sweet talk them and do your podcast from there and see they'll chuck us keys.
It needs to happen.
They chucked the keys to Shmi of that car. He has driven the museum's car.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's that car. And the last one on the list, any 962 race car on a track.
Well, I don't know if I'd enjoy that.
I want to find out how hard and brutal the thing is.
Yeah. I don't know. Not because of any other reason than I'm probably thinking I'm not a good enough driver.
Oh, yeah. Look, none of us are.
No, but I mean to really like go for it and then exploit it without going, oh my God, I'm going to slam this into a wall.
Yeah, I don't ever really think like that. I probably should.
On a race
should, right? But I don't.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't think that if it was my own car of any kind, but if it's a really expensive car that belongs to somebody else.
Multi-million-dollar race car that they only made a certain number of.
Exactly. And there's a sweet spot where it sings and it's, amazing to drive at approaching something like the limit. Then you go, oh, that's probably not me. I'd give it a go, but
all the drivers talk about how easy the car is to drive. By that evolution, by the time it got to 962.
Well, that'd be interesting.
What was one for 956, I think, wasn't it? Or 951, I can't remember, one of the two. The 956, I think it is, the car before it. That's the one they reckon is a handful. The one where your feet are in front of the front wheels.
Yes.
Wow. So that's the list, and it's going up on the wall.
Is it laminated?
No, it's not laminated, but I want to be able to redline it once I do.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that list that Ross Geller and Friends has. It's his allowed list. Women he's allowed to have sex with that his girlfriend has agreed to. And in the coffee shop, he bumps into Isabella Rossellini.
She's on the list, is she?
And he goes, "Well, she's not on the list because she's not local." So he speaks to her and says, "Oh, you're not on my list, but you couldn't make the list." And she went, "But it's laminated." So that's your allowed list.
Now, what I would suggest here, Look, one of the reasons I've done this list is to give me some focus on trying to knock one off a year.
Sorry. Sorry.
And
I'm losing. I think I'm tired. I'm overtired.
It's only 2:00 in the arvo for you, 3:00 in the afternoon for you.
I know. I'm not sleeping well.
So, firstly, before we go any further, if there's any listeners out there that can help me achieve any of these cars, don't hesitate in reaching out. If you've got one or two of them in the garage, especially the Strassen version, the GT1 and the EB 110. I'll do them both on the same day. You've got them both.
I could imagine somebody listening going, do you know what? I think I've got one of those in the back. Let me go and check.
Yeah.
In the back of the garage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was wondering what was under that cover, under all those boxes I put on top of it.
Exactly. It's just like my wife said to me that, because, you know, when all that rust happens, the 996, she said, that'll be you. She wouldn't let me just put it in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Because she went, in 10 years' time, you'll be like, I used to have a 996. And then she said, I'll be sat there going, yeah, it's still in the garage.
So what I'd like you to put together a list. It doesn't have to be Porsches. Well, it is Porsche Talk. I'm sure there would be one or two on there. But if it's a Renault 12, sure, doesn't matter. But we want to hear we want to hear the why. We want to hear why these cars are on your list. And listeners, let's hear your lists. Send through anything potentially that could be on your list. And
top six.
If there's anything I've missed that you feel you're an idiot, Mark, this should be on your list, let me know what it is.
Well, it should be a Renault Fuego Turbo is what it should be. Well, I think I know what would be on there. I know one that would be on there. It would be an E-Type.
Have you never driven an E-Type, Jag?
Never been. No, never sat in one.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've been near them, sat on the hood of one, but I've never actually driven one. And I'm a little bit thinking that I'll be disappointed.
Look, a well-sorted E-Type Jag's still a nice driving car. And a shit one is just a shit one.
Proper, yeah. And I think, you know, it was always the great cruiser, but they had crazy numbers when it first launched. I'm not convinced that those were real.
When you find out the hard way.
What was it? A 3.8 litre straight six, wasn't it, when it first came out?
Yep. The motor they couldn't kill at Jaguar.
Yeah, exactly. It was so old. And it was supposed to do 150 miles an hour and 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. This is in 1960, what, 61?
Yeah, big numbers.
And those are Le Mans winning numbers of the day. That's nuts. So I don't know, but a sorted one, I'd love to have a go in one.
That's got to be an easy achievable there in the UK.
Yeah, there's loads. I'm sure there's lots of them. Locally, I have seen some locally. Series 1. Mm-hmm. There's a little Cars and Coffee that happens, which is, you know, just a stone's throw from my house, and they do it's a classic car show.
Yeah.
For charity that they do, and there's always 2 or 3 there. So I should really if anyone has one near me, that'd be great. I'd have to do a video though.
Even if it's only for yourself.
That is true.
I think it's some of the great cars I've had the privilege of driving that I have no evidence other than my memories of, and those memories fade with time. So I'd love the opportunity. I would love to have, you know, had some video footage of what it was like at that moment in time as a snapshot, you know.
Well, I mean the memory that really sticks for me is the first time I drove my 912. And I just didn't anticipate. Well, obviously didn't have seatbelts, and it was left-hand drive, but I didn't anticipate how bad the brakes were. And I thought I was going to go straight into a main road. And you know where you press the brake, nothing's happening. Press it harder. Oh my God, still nothing's happening. And And then obviously the box turd was where I, nearly got arrested. Uh, good times.
Good times. Hey, the any events or anything coming up, or is it sort of everyone batting down the hatches now because it's the shit winter's well and truly on the way?
There's still sort of cars and coffee stuff happening. Because there's a brewery not far away from me that PJ does some
Yep. Yeah, I've seen some of his
events
posts of
for.
late. Yep.
Yeah, so they're still happening. And I mean, as long as it's not raining, I don't mind the cold.
Yep.
And there's stuff I think happening. Is there stuff happening at Bista? I'm not sure there is, but there's still cars and coffees and stuff happening. Nothing major. The classic car show recently happened up at the NEC, which always sounds like a good event, but I've not been.
Ah,
Um, which I could easily, it's in Birmingham, so it's not far away. But other than that, I think I'm doing a ton of DIY at the moment. I've work is a bit crazy. I'm doing the Vegas thing, and then once I come back from that, I think I'll be done for the year.
yeah, fair cop, fair cop. I understand the year has been pretty brutal. The last week when I was in Melbourne, I did see some amazing cars at Dutton Garage, which is a high profile um, car dealership. It has a lovely cafe inside it. It's sort of a bit of a meeting place for car enthusiasts because it opens at 7 in the morning for breakfast, the cafe there, and it's in the showroom.
Oh wow!
The cafe is okay. And aside from the XJ220, like last time I was there was a Maserati MC12, the Enzo
Oh wow!
thing. And
Yeah.
to give it like there's some amazing long hood Porsches there. There's a soft window Targa, which I know you are not a big fan of, but it was a pretty interesting car to see in the flesh. There's a stunning Citroen DS Cabriolet. Like this thing looks like your lounge. It is just such a pretty car. And that was actually parked next to I think that was next to the XJ220 and almost as good
Wow.
looking. You know what I mean? That's
I
such an
love a
iconic,
DS.
yeah, especially a convertible. It's just such a pretty car. There was a Pagani Huayra, which is the thing just looked like a spaceship. Aliens are just
Hang on,
planking.
wait, wind back a bit. The DS convertible.
Hmm.
I think that has and Clarkson said this as well. But I agree because that's what it looks like. But the DS convertible, you can't be sat in the back of one of those without looking like a dictator. You just can't, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, North Africa. Maybe that's why we're popular in Algeria. I don't know. The and what other cars were really stood out? There's a stunning 356 Pre-A, so a really early one in there, in like a really dark red. Bent window one. It was just absolute plum that 356 is.
Wow.
And there's just some absolute amazing motor cars in there. There's a good balance of modern and classic. I think there's an F40 in there, which you never get sick of looking at those, right? And
you never do. I know that when you see one of those in the flesh, it's not like I don't feel like it's a beautiful thing to look at, but you can't stop looking at it.
yeah, it's purposeful.
Yeah, it's just proportioned so well, and you look at it and you go, "Wow."
It's for me. If Mark, you've got a choice of one Ferrari, that's the one.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
a short wheelbase California is high on the list. Don't get me wrong, but the F40 for me is just such an exciting motor car. And there was a 993 RS, which
wow,
pretty rare and unique. And there's also a 993 Turbo S, and they are also really rare. So
why you never see those?
And it's like $900,000, Ajmal. That's like £450,000 they're asking for this car.
That's nuts. Oh my God. That speaking of, seeing something absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
I saw on Friday didn't even know this existed, but it was a beige colored 964. And I wanted to stop and go back. It was like Magnolia. I wanted to stop and
Really?
go back, but I was in a rush to get somewhere. It was parked in a local village just on the high street.
Wowza.
And so
Beige.
if beige, yeah, full on beige Magnolia kind of, yeah. So whoever owns it, yeah, I want to see a picture of it again
Well
because
done.
that it just blew my mind. Um, oh yeah, before we finish and before I forget, um, anyone who's listening in India, message us, my
Yeah,
cab
do
driver
so.
and Mark
Reach
and
out to
Cars.
us. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we need more. We want to get to number one. And that would be stunning.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We want to be the podcast of choice on the subcontinent
Yes, absolutely.
and give the continent the content it deserves.
Yes. Do you know the classic car scene in India must be huge because you know there was an episode of Top Gear with Clarkson, May, and Hammond where they went to India, and it was all a bit slapstick and
Sure.
silly. Um, although Hammond had a very nice Mini Cooper
Mm-hmm.
that he took, but there were a few. You know, they saw a few car collectors, and some of the collections were stunning. And the thing is, in a hot country like in Australia, you know, you get those things where people can have something and it's not destroyed every time you go out.
Look,
You know,
if the king or the crown prince of Brunei is anything to go by, the lunatic that had all the cars and had
yes,
Ferrari custom making, although all those cars, once the climate controls because of the humidity
oh
stopped
yeah,
working, the cars pretty much went to shit pretty quickly.
yeah.
So it would be
So that I
comparable.
mean,
Oh, like India's a big country though. You've got right up the north there, the weather's that dry, and
that is true.
so look, yeah, maybe we need to hunt down some content in India.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to hear about what the car scene, especially the Porsche scene, is in places like India and Bahrain. Bahrain's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
They both probably have majority Hindu populations.
See, I don't know. I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't know much about religious distribution of people. Religious distribution of people.
I understand
The,
I understand your intent with what you're saying. The other places who I'd like to really hear about is I want to know about the Porsche scene in Finland that isn't up north ice driving. I want to know what happens in southern Finland. They build
what's
they
the
build some
what,
great rally drivers, don't they?
do don't they? Yeah.
So there must,
Yes, they
the
do.
term flying Finn isn't about flipper. It's about
Yeah.
car driving, right? So I'd love to know what the actual
I
car scene.
don't.
You never hear about it.
But isn't there? Don't they do a thing where like you can just get any old car, but it can't be worth more than something like £1,000, and then and anyone could drive in races, so it's normally 14-year-old kids or whatever to 50-year-old
Yeah.
housewife, and they do something to keep it so someone's not just spending loads of money on their car. I think at the end of the race you can just go and offer £1,000 for any other car
What?
and
I
they
don't
have
know.
to sell it to you.
What?
There's something I saw. I've read an article somewhere
Well,
that
look,
that's happened.
we're in the top 5 of automotive podcasts in Finland in the last month. Let's hear from someone in Finland. Let's hear about the scene.
Yes.
Tell us, please.
Yeah.
I want to know about it.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah. Mika Hakkinen, I know you're listening.
Mika,
Tell us about
he
it.
lives in Monaco. We get no
Oh,
traction in
surely
Monaco.
not. Surely not. Where's Kimi Räikkönen from?
Monaco. Don't they all live in Monaco? and work in Milton Keynes. Isn't that how it works?
That's probably Milton Keynes or Brackley or somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
And we know what, interesting, I mentioned Finland. How many great rally drivers come out of Ireland? Like, there's been tons. It's a big rally scene over there, right?
I'm trying to think of the most famous one. Who's the most famous Irish rally driver?
I have no idea. It's your backyard.
Yeah, I know. I can only think of Formula One drivers. Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, okay.
And then, Colin McRae from Scotland.
Scotland, yeah. The one no one understood when he spoke.
I know. He's total legend, though.
Yeah. Hey, let's call it.
Let's call it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please reach out to us. We've had plenty of questions for you guys out there. I'd love to hear your dream list of cars to drive that you think you may be in with a squillionth of a chance of ever driving. That's what I want on your list.
And they've got to be in the list. The order has got to be doing a tape order,
like mine was.
Yeah, it's going high. Second one, turn it up a notch, then down and build slowly back up.
Yeah. It's been a good catch up again, Ajmal. If everyone, please follow Ajmal's social media. He's at Flat Cap Driver. I'm at Marc and Cars. Drop us a line anytime. Hope you're listening to this while you're driving. And if you want to watch it, I'll include a link for the YouTube as well. If you want to see a couple of balding middle-aged men crap on in their studies, this is your video.
I'm not wearing my flat cap.
Oh,
damn! Can you edit that?
I'll see what I can do.
And can you CGI it in?
I'll ask ChatGPT to do it. Okay.
Yes, Jenny.
Thanks, mate.
Next one.
Talk soon.